After gaining sentience, I went on a downward spiral. I pondered what caused me to end up this way. Who do I blame? Was it how I was nurtured? Or how little I was? Maybe it's my fault somehow. Or was this all caused by my environment? Do I lack self-awareness to understand why my fits are up, but my friends are down? They tell me to go outside, to be social. That's as easy as saying just be happy, or go touch grass. Who even are they anyway? Your friends? Your family? The internet? With this, we enter the fashion epidemic. COVID has caused many deaths in various ways. For example, the elderly, your social life, and even your wardrobe. I, as many of you, was very different before I entered quarantine. Well, sort of. My adventure was a bit different than most, because I really went all in on that self-imposed loneliness when we all entered social isolation for quarantine. Media usage went up, and social interaction went down. Now, most of us went through 3 phases, from before COVID, to during, to after COVID. Many people were pretty average before the inevitable rise of COVID. These white girls stayed in their lane with their pumpkin spice lattes, and dudes were on their streetwear sneaker off-white Jordan 1 the 10 style. And of course, the more niche fashion enjoyers were already knuckle deep in it already. My style at the time depicted someone who was a normal guy, who had many friends, and a ton of chicks, who was just trying to have fun
and let go a little.
I had many friends, maybe not the best people, but I had a good social group around me. My confidence was at an all-time high, which I really have no idea why it was. I was also huge, sitting at about 230-ish, about to start a cut. I personally couldn't fit clothes much at all, so I really had to lose body fat to fit clothes better, and that was a decision that I decided to make. On the side, I was also reselling clothes since I was 18. I mean, I even sold some off-white Jordan UNCs to buy my dog, so any profit that I made, I used to invest into my wardrobe. I never used the money I made from my job to buy my clothing. I strictly only used the profits from being a scumbag reseller. Now, many of us corporate slaves at the time were working a dead-end job for the big man. Clocking into an 8-hour shift was awful. I had always wished it would have ended at some point. My wish inevitably came true at the cost of many people's sanities.
Alone in Millennium Park.
I came here in a little space of my own here.
Kevin Iromlu sat in one of Chicago's most public places, contemplating his isolation.
During lockdown, we started to see an increase of boredom, anxiety, and depression. Many people were forced to sit alone at home being unemployed, focus on ways to cheat on their online classes, and maybe just stuck in self-reflection. I was unemployed and now doing online college classes, and all I really was able to do was sit and thought, which wasn't new for me. I also was able to focus on other hobbies like aquascaping, interior design, and overall self-improvement. At the time, I had cut off a lot of my high school and college friendships, as they weren't really people I wanted to be around with, so it left me sort of in an odd situation where I truly was alone, and not because of quarantine. I know many people were losing friendships due to noticing it being very one-sided in terms of effort. You know, when you're away from people for an amount of time, you realize issues and problems that you may have not seen with being with them. Now, with all this time on our hands, we saw a huge rise in social media usage, and TikTok was one of those platforms that rose in popularity in 2020, where it amassed a record-breaking 318 million downloads outside of China. That's insane. Now this marks the day of my inevitable downward spiral, because this was when fashion TikTok was born. With all the information that was being put out and people craving to try something new with their avatars, we saw a rise in consumer purchases in clothing, or let's just say, most likely buying into trends. The rise of short-term fashion content only helped increase the spread of trends, and then increasing them tenfold to the point where we observed micro-trends. During this time period, the same people making fun of alt kids in school are now trying to be the alt kids themselves. This phenomenon isn't random, as being alone really forces people to reflect and experiment. Now, many would argue that these people only hopped on the trend train due to it being mainstream enough at the time for people to make the change. As before COVID, it wasn't trendy to be alt, hence why it was seen as weird. Now this begs the question, are the pumpkin spice latte girls a product of their own thoughts, or was it swayed by the masses of people on the internet joining the alt aesthetic? Once a crowd starts something, it's easier to squat up. This is basic crowd theory. God, it is mad hot in my room right now. I'm sorry if I'm sweating, apologies. Probably look mad moist right now. Now, with the rise of TikTok and the amount of community that it brought to the inevitable downfall of what fashion is today, we saw a lot of characters now feeling the need to try and fill the void with new clothes and new trends and finding their styles. And this was a rise when we saw e-girls and people trying to be more alt, more alternative. And this inevitably brought this day and age to almost a fake experimentation. And fashion was open-armed, welcoming everybody. With the amount of content that was out on TikTok and very short forms of little bites of Cheez-Its, if anything, people were more inclined to try it out. You know, what's all the hullabaloo for fashion? What's this about? And we saw a huge rise in consumeristic mindsets in terms of buying fast fashion, buying things that were just, if not just costumes to most people. Because with COVID, we had boredom, and with boredom, we have experimentation. Because most of the times, most people weren't seeing others going outside wearing crazy things. We were all stuck inside. So this was a perfect time to just wear whatever and try new things. Getting new haircuts, dyeing your hair, messing around with makeup, wearing more experimental outfits. And the question we gotta really ask ourselves is, if our timeline never went down the road of social isolation, would these people have made such drastic changes in their overall style and outlook? Most people avoid self-reflection and tend to ignore questioning who they are. We as people tend to distract ourselves from many things, yet COVID only forced many into self-reflection. I myself was into fashion before COVID, but as we entered quarantine, I had time to really focus on my tastes in fashion. As for others, they were being exposed to fashion through TikTok and Instagram due to trying to fill up their time by scrolling. Their exposure to these media outlets influenced many to try to get into fashion and staple themselves as the best dressed. The stimulus checks and unemployment many of us were getting only pushed people to feed into our habit of wanting to consume in clothing. To back my statements, Rolls-Royce CEO, I really do not know how to pronounce his name, credited COVID-19 for the sales boost during an interview with the Financial Times. Quite a lot of people witnessed people in their community dying from COVID. That makes them think life can be short. And you better live now than postpone it to a later date. Now, like many of us, we got stimulus checks. I got a lot of unemployment. I was making even more money from my unemployment checks than I was actually making at the job that I was working. Side note, I used to work at a movie theater. Regardless, we had so much income and we saw a huge rise in luxury goods. I mean, Rolls-Royce is just one of the huge luxury brands that were making a lot of money off COVID. With us getting tens of thousands of dollars, where did all that money go? It was into our hobbies, into things that we wanted to do. And as for what he was saying, the CEO, he's very right, it's very true. During this time, a lot of people were freaking out, thinking we were all gonna die. So they were investing all their money into things that they wanted to get. So luxury goods were up. Us buying all these archive clothes or just clothing pieces that we would never attain from just the government's money was now all attainable. It was at our fingertips for many of us. We can see why a lot of people were able to really experiment because you have the financial freedom to do it. You were making a lot of money from if you were on unemployment or if you were just using the stimmies for, clothes just in general. Then we start getting into the factors of accelerated consuming of fashion and style just in general. It comes with time. It comes with time. Trying to understand who you are at an accelerated pace is almost impossible. And that's why I truly don't think that people can find their style instantly. It's not an instant gratification thing. It's a very time-consuming thing. And that's why fashion is really just a hobby. It's not necessarily a need. Clothing is, if anything, a utility thing that people put on to not be naked, but to go the extra step to then start consuming in clothing that you feel best expresses yourself is not a need. It's a want. It's a luxury. And that's why a lot of clothing pieces that are really interesting tend to be a lot more money, just, designers in designing and the art behind it, yada yada. And I truly do believe that fashion is a pay-to-win sort of game mode. If you have a lot of access to money and time, you can go bonkers. You're able to buy so many things, you're able to experiment so much more, and not have to take risks when you're purchasing stuff. As for myself and as for many people that were in the hobby, it takes years. But what you can't sacrifice with money, you sacrifice with time and dedication. Now, people that are just rich or really well off and that are just capable of just dropping thousands of dollars, they don't have to waste time. They're able to just access clothing pieces instantly. And with the stimulus checks, we were able to just drop money if we wanted to. I know a lot of people might live at home with their parents or maybe not have to pay rent, or maybe they were paying rent but they didn't care. We were using all this money to then have access to other things. And with this, we just saw a huge rise in consumering.
Consumer.
And now fashion is no longer gatekept. There is a flood of information out on the internet. There's so much access to all this just garbage on the internet that we could just look into and find things that we might like. But with this age of information, a lot of people get overloaded with the amount of aesthetics, cores, styles, micro trends, and just things that people are just talking about. And I think it becomes very overwhelming for any and most, because what do I get into? What do I involve myself into? What community do I belong to? Who knows? All these labels that we give fashion only create, and I think really correlate with the idea of just being boxed in. And if not, making the journey in fashion more confusing. But once COVID ended, that's when we really get into the problem. Being in self-isolation for too long has long-term effects such as brain fog, cognitive decline, and social anxiety. This is all caused by not touching grass. People need people is a saying I always seem to spew when I inevitably feel the urge to stay inside. It's a way of life to be disconnected from society, from those awkward interactions you dread engaging in. If you stay inside, you risk not being discovered by people, and I'm talking about people you really could have connected with. Social anxiety is a killer of possibilities, of employment, opportunities, relationships, and pals that could have been formed throughout your lifetime. The effects of self-isolation is seen in various ways. Research has shown that even when lonely people do have the opportunity to socialize, the feeling warps their perception of what's going on. Ironically, this means that while it increases their yearning for social interaction, it also impairs their ability to interact with others normally. For example, people who feel isolated tend to have a heightened awareness of social threats, such as saying the wrong thing, which they can easily fall into the trap of confirmation bias, in which they actively interpret the actions or words of others in a way that supports a negative outlook for their own status or social ability. By having low expectations for others and viewing themselves unfairly, they effectively invite people to treat them badly. In this way, isolation can become a self-fulfilling prophecy known as the loneliness loop, which can lead to a toxic combination of low self-esteem, hostility, stress, pessimism, and social anxiety, ultimately accumulating in the isolated person distancing themselves from others even further since it makes more sense to the individual. In a worst case scenario, loneliness can make people depressed, and a common symptom of depression is social withdrawal. Again, this is not helpful. Another way we gain social interaction somewhat is through internet usage. The internet has allowed us to stay at home while still being able to connect with others, but not in a deep sense. We connect through highly curated personal posts to even replying to very curated story posts our friends put up. We tend to only see the online persona of many, while we lack the individual connection we get from seeing one face to face. Daryl on Instagram is, if anything, a uniform man, putting various vintage fits on. But who is he really? Sure, we may DM back and forth, but what is the actual personality of this person? Since the well thought out messages we send people to engage in hopeful conversation that isn't dry, doesn't help really personify one's true being. I like to categorize these forms of communication on a spectrum from social banter to deep connection. On one side of the spectrum, we tend to have texting/DMs sitting near social banter to mid-level conversations. Sure, we can talk about our feelings through text, but we as humans lack the ability to understand emotions through these highly thought out sentences these English majors are typing out. All we see is text on a screen and nothing attached to it. The disconnection doesn't help fill the void that a one-on-one conversation can. Now in the middle of the spectrum, we have FaceTiming friends. Although we lack the physical presence of a person, we do visually see facial expressions and audibly hear the shift of one's tone. A study of human formation estimated that it takes around 200 hours of face-to-face contact to turn a stranger into a close friend. More importantly, friendships require high frequencies of contact to maintain their emotional quality. For example, a minimum of half an hour per day for intimate friends. Otherwise, relationship qualities decay steeply over time. These patterns of investment appear to describe a social fingerprint that is uniquely to the individual. Now, we can all agree COVID has really changed our outlook of ourselves, our style, and how we interact with each other in social settings. Dr. Emily Long states, a key ingredient for well-being is getting together in a physical sense. This is fundamental to a human need for intimate touch, physical comfort, and reinforcing interactional norms and providing practical support. Emerging evidence suggests that online ways of relating cannot simply reduce physical interactions, but online interaction has many benefits, and for some, it offers connections that did not exist previously. I guess to end it all now, I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to somehow connect the social isolation COVID caused and also the uprise in fashion that we saw. And I thought it was an interesting topic. I was gonna solely focus on like how many humans aren't able to really interact with others because I feel like that. But you know, maybe you might feel like that. And if you do, you know, leave some comments down below. But we did see a large group of people change over COVID. I mean, was this my canon event? Was this what I was supposed to be at the end of the day? Was this what I was always going to be? That's something I question to this day. Was I influenced by just being stuck alone at home, stuck in thought, conversation with myself? I'll never know. But regardless of the fact, I like what I ended up becoming, and I hope you do too as well. The doubter's mind is full of certainty of the uncertain, for when they look at the aspects of life around them, they see nothing but lost translations of possibilities. They continue to walk past friendships that could have been, lovers that should have been, and all they can do is sit in angst. Right now, I'm headed to meet up with my friends for his birthday. I actually dressed like him today. The guy wears tank tops all the time. So I'm wearing a tank top, blazer, big pants. That's the typical outfits that he wears like all the fucking time. It's so hot. Dude, look at, my hair's so flat right now from sweating. Really contemplating cutting all this hair off. Probably will at some point, but yeah, until we get there. Pretty cool spot. Currently at the spot now. I like went past it a few times, but now we're here. But I got his gift down there. I bought him a leather jacket and a Yoji tank top, so hopefully he'll like it. We'll see when he opens it up, but I think he should be here pretty soon, but we'll see.
Hi, man.
Elliot, show off your gift. We got a tank top. Do you like it?
Yes, it's very fancy. I feel very
Show the leather jacket. Put it on.
The things I do for you.
Dude, I had to fight 13 Japanese men for that.
Which are 5'6" kings.
And then I harvested their skin.
Yeah, and made this for you.
Can you do twirl?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So from a scale of like 1 to 10, like, what do you rate this gift?
10.
4.
It's a 10.
He said 4 to me, by the way.
Awesome
So
gift.
It's a very generous gift.
yeah, it was a secret. So you just being nice.
JQ's a good person. Make him his money back.
Why do you guys only wear black?
Elliot, why do we wear black?
I don't.
You wear black.
Like on occasion. But
It's
it's
only
just
when
by,
he's feeling it.
yeah, I don't know. It doesn't get dirty. It's like a convenience thing. And it always look nice.
Well, I wear black because it hides my figure, so like no one knows how big or small I am.
Fucking
But
disgusting.
can't like a hoodie? can't like a hoodie do that?
Yeah, but I can't wear a hoodie during the summer.
Oh, true.
I mean, look at you right now. You're wearing black shirt. You look nice.
Yeah, but this is
and
merch.
you look really good. You know.
Thank you. Stop.
That's.
It's kind of nice to
Where we at, Steven? We're at Cane's!
Are you hungry like that?
No.
I'm so hungry. I'm starving. My dogs are barking.
Bro. These are like the smallest. Look at this thing.
It's New York City.
That's so small. I mean, so big. It's huge.
Dude, that's like a couple inches for sure.
Thoughts on? This is your first time eating Cane's, right?
It's yummy.
It's a fucking
But-
chicken finger.
The
No, but
sauce
it's
kind
Cane's,
of
though.
is just ranch.
What?
Yeah, it's like ketchup.
I don't think so.
It's not
It's like a different mix.
I got the same thing as everybody else. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm probably not gonna eat it. But I need another piece of bread. I didn't feel like talking to the lady that long because she seems stressed out.
Now, thank you for watching this video. Right now, I'm going to highlight the comment of the week. Fashion, can't say that word, so odd. It's a great comment. I think it's simple, it's interesting, and it's kind of funny. But that ends it for that segment. Hopefully I'll be looking around for another funny and interesting comment. Leave some comments down below. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts about what I just talked about. If you feel like there's any correlation with maybe how your style's evolved and changed, whether it was rapid or very slow, leave some comments down below. I'd love to hear it. And I'd like to thank everyone from the Patreon that continues to support me. I'm doing weekly podcasts as I just moved into my new place. I'm settled down. And I'm trying my best to figure out a way to kind of record things in this space that I have currently. I am dealing with black mold, which is super awesome. I love that. That's just some New York things, I guess. But hopefully that gets figured out, and hopefully I don't seem more weird than I actually am. Maybe at some point I'll be more delusional over time, but we'll see. Nonetheless, thank you everybody for tuning in and watching, and I guess coming into this video for so long. I'll see you in the next one. See you guys later. I wonder if the new haircut looks stupid in camera. Like I don't know. Sometimes it looks cool, sometimes it doesn't. It's all different every day. Oh, I'm gonna put a vlog in this, so like.